Well, welcome to our latest installment of the Stone Barn Speaker Series event. My name is Ward Keever, and today is Thursday, March 25th, 2021. We are still virtual today thanks to our COVID pandemic, but we're looking forward to returning to our in-person format, hopefully later this year. So keep your eyes and ears tuned for that. And since we've learned this new trick of how to be virtual during the pandemic, and we have a number of guests with us today who are geographically remote, we look forward to continuing to be able to broadcast future events even when we do return to in-person format. So that'll be something new that we do as we go forward. Our program today is entitled Getting, Saving, and I'll add not losing, right? But getting and saving and losing, or how to avoid losing money for college. And whether you have children or grandchildren, nieces or nephews, or just other loved ones, college is a very important consideration. In our work as financial advisors, saving for college and saving on the cost of college are important parts of the work that we do with our clients and are topics of significant interest when we meet with our clients. So we're very pleased to be making this presentation, bringing this information to you today. We believe you'll find it to be valuable and useful. We are very, very pleased. I couldn't tell you that we're any more pleased to bring to you our special guest speaker today, Jonathan Ekeland. Jonathan has over 25 years of experience as a guidance director and guidance counselor, and has helped literally thousands of students and their families prepare for college and career. Jonathan currently serves in the role of Director of Guidance at Wilmington Christian School here in Hockessin, Delaware. And he has I think, a fairly unique perspective and a very fresh and pragmatic approach, as you'll hear very shortly. Some fun facts about Jonathan. So first of all, Jonathan actually, prior to his work at Wilmington Christian School, was the guidance director at my high school alma mater, the Christian Academy up in Media, Pennsylvania. So we're happy to have Jonathan closer by, about 3 miles away from our office now, and working with the families and the students there at Wilmington Christian School. Jonathan and his wife Renee will be celebrating their 27th wedding anniversary in just a couple of weeks, so congratulations and thank you for that. They met at church, which personally I think is always a great place to meet your future spouse, so good stuff there. They have 2 Shelties, and I remember growing up, my grandparents had a Sheltie puppy. So Jonathan enjoys adventure and being outside and running and backpacking. And during the summer months, he enjoys stand-up paddle boards in Marsh Creek. Jonathan used to surf and skateboard, and as a still attempting surfer anyway, being an active surfer myself, I've made it one of my personal goals to get Jonathan back out into the waves. So Jonathan, I'm not sure I've told you that yet, so just a heads up, but we'd love to paddle out together sometime. So Jonathan is very passionate about helping and supporting the students that he works with. And Jonathan, I'm going to ask if you could put the disclaimer slide up there for us for just a moment. And while the disclaimer slide is up there, we won't read that to you, but that keeps all the attorneys happy when we have the disclaimer slide up there, so you can take a look at that. And I'll also let you know that we'll be holding questions until the end of Jonathan's prepared remarks this afternoon, but you can send questions to us anytime you like using the email michelle@covenantwealthstrategies.com. That is on your screen, and it's Michelle with 2 L's, michelle@covenantwealthstrategies.com. We'll gather those questions up and then present them to Jonathan after the conclusion of his prepared remarks. So Jonathan, without further delay, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you, and we are very eager to hear what you have to share with us this afternoon. Take it away.
Great. Thanks, Ward. Thanks for that very generous introduction. I appreciate that. Absolutely. I've been working with teenagers even part-time for close to 40 years, let alone directly for, like Ward said, over 25. So I get very excited, very passionate when we're talking about college for the kids. Both schools, most of the students are going off to college, 90 to 100% of each graduating class. And so, at least for this time that we have, I want to treat everyone who's watching as you're one of my parents. Whether you're a grandparent, a godparent, certainly a parent, maybe even a student watching, that you're here in my office here, and that we're going to go through various things as we're looking ahead for planning for college. The other main aspect I try to get across to my students, I call them my kids, I'll probably use that more often. I want to think as this process in a logical, practical, you're going to use the word pragmatic, wise way. Too much, I think, emotion gets in the way. Our society is getting more and more built on emotion. And I want to use what kind of God-given abilities we have to think basically what is the best tool for me to go to college? Because that's what college is. You're there 7.5, maybe 8 months of the year, not 9 or 10 or 11 months, certainly. So you're there for 30 months of your life. What is the best tool for the money for me to move on and have that career for the next 30, 40, 50 years? So keep that in mind as we go through what is going to be a practical way to approach this. So the first part, it's really the easy part, is getting money. I think there really can't be anything more said about getting money. How do we get money? Because everyone's asking me. And in one sense, it's the easy part, believe it or not. 90 to 100% of the money you get is going to come from the college you go to. You're going to have a financial aid plan that our students would receive. Our seniors, have received one, or in the next actually few weeks are going to be getting one, because it's April and that's a big date for universities. So getting money, and we're going to go through a few things just to make sure we touch on them. I know a letter went out, an email went out just last month. Michelle sent it on 529 accounts. There's really nothing new under the sun, but it's a good question. Did you contribute to your 529 account for your children or grandchildren? Up to $10,000 a year. It says K through 12, but I know in some circumstances it might even cover even past that for college or grad school. That's something you need to look at. You need to talk to your tax advisors. And first and foremost, you need to talk to these guys, Ward & Company, about starting one, which is, I think, to me, it's a no-brainer. If you want to start an IRA when you're 18, I tell my kids, you want to start a 529 plan, maybe when, mom-to-be is pregnant, and let's go for 18 years. So I leave that in the hands of the experts. Even when it comes to financial aid, I do not want to know everything. So I always say, talk to human beings, find out the answers, and write it down and kind of move on. So 529 is a must on everybody's list. Regardless of how old you are, it's never too late to start putting that money. So in one sense, you're saving money there, but to me, you're getting it because hopefully you're investing it, and therefore you're getting money back on your investment. The second thing, scholarships. Everyone's big on scholarships. There's two general types. One's exterior, which means it's exterior to the college. And the best way to look at that is, since you're looking for scholarships, is you versus, or the student versus how many other students. So everyone likes to look at Coca-Cola is giving out $5 million. Oh, that's great. But how many seniors are looking for that $5 million? Is it only 429,000 students? Is it only 610,000 students? I do not like those odds. That's like Powerball. So we need to look at it practically and saying, all right, so what's the 1 versus the 100 or 2 or 300? So let's look locally. Let's look at our JCs, our Rotary, our Kiwanis, our Lions, our Sons of Norway, and see. I just passed along to our students. There was one for Wilmington, I think it was Rotary, for $4,500, and they're going to give a few of those out. Well, I like those odds. Maybe there's only 410 kids applying for that, rather than 410,000. So look locally, look right in your community, right in basically your neighborhood for those things. Then look for a medium stake and look at Delaware. Well, how many seniors are looking for, these scholarships? Again, it's more than the Rotary, but it's less than the national. And Delaware's got a host of scholarships that you can go through, and they're very easy to find. So for exterior, look small first if you're going to spend any time. And to me, it's the juniors, the rising juniors, the seniors should be looking for the summer. Hey, what scholarships are there? Put some time and energy into looking. And we'll get into the very end for your plan, that you need a plan to be doing these, not say, hey, I'm going to do it, but when are you going to do it, honey? Well, and so we need to put that in there and put timelines and so on. We'll get to that. The interior scholarships were things like I mentioned are coming from the college. So obviously there's academic, there's athletic scholarships, especially for not the D3 schools, but for the D1 and 2, they can give some money there, certainly. There could be from military or family, family occupation. My dad's a welder, and there's this or that. There's the scholarships for endowed scholarships, where if you live in Wyoming and you're coming to Delaware, we're going to give you $5,000 because you live in Wyoming, and we want to have 50 states represented. So the colleges would provide hopefully all those answers. And I'll say this lovingly and nice and honestly. My dad was a professor at college. My mom worked at college. I'll say obviously I went to college. They're great, but I trust them as far as I can throw them when it comes to things like fully investing 100%, that everything they say and do is accurate. So we need to have our students confident in everything. So always call up, always double check on things. Did you get this? Did you give me this? Because I'm looking at a piece of paper, my financial aid package. I want to make sure that I'm entitled to everything that you're offering. So always double check, always ask. More getting money. Again, these are no-brainers. These are, again, like I said before, there's nothing new under the sun. Loans from the government, it could be personal, but the financial aid package, if you get one, if you're applying for one with FAFSA, free application for student assistance, you can start senior year in October applying for that. Do I get government loans? They start adding up. If I'm not getting government loans for different reasons, and again, that's a tax advisor issue, and that could be a awarding company issue, then you need to talk to them as far as, do I apply for FAFSA or not, revealing, you know, maybe information you don't want to. Then maybe you're looking at some personal loans, and maybe, you know, dad and daughter are co-signing and taking out a personal loan to cover the rest of college, whatever that's going to look like. Obviously, that's debt. I think it's important for students to know what debt physically looks like and break it down to the bottom line. What I give my students, again, have somebody run the exact numbers, but for about every $10,000 of debt you get into, and let's assume it's a 10-year payback, and I know some people in their 40s still paying back, and some of you are like shaking your heads like, oh my gosh, I'm still writing a check for $310, you know, every single month. But if you just, for every $10,000 of debt you have for a 10-year program, basically when you get out of college, you're going to have to write a check for $100 per month, give or take maybe $10. If you're in debt $40,000, well, times it by 4, now you're writing a check for 10 years for $400. And I tell the juniors, I said, go back to second grade, you know, 10 years prior, and imagine you're in second grade writing a check for $400 every month until now in your junior year. And they're like, oh, that's a long time. I'm like, yes, it's a long time. And that's the bottom line, is writing that check or having pulled out of your checking account monthly. So I want to make sure they break it down to actual physical, this is what it looks like. It's not just a number. Oh, I'm only in debt $55,000. No. That's a $500, $600 check for 10 years. Oh, okay. So I think it's important to see that. For the grants, which is free money. Everyone loves free money. They come from the government. Could be a corporation or foundation. So those things, you need to be looking for different grants. There's grants, loans, and scholarships out there. There's billions of dollars. It's a matter of, do you qualify? There's probably something out there, if you're 6'2" with green eyes and have a limp on your right, you know, ankle, they'll give you $5,000. There are some interesting ones out there. I knew a woman who used to give people going to Cairn University, Christian School up in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. If you could recite the book of James, she'd give you $1,000. Okay, you know, it's $1,000. That's a half a summer's worth of work. So there's things out there, but it's a matter of looking for and spending time looking for something that's appropriate for you and your family. The last piece, work. Work. A lot of kids are maybe kind of allergic to work. So again, you're one of my families, so I'm going to try to be loving and firm and saying, I think every teenager should be working, to have a work ethic, to learn about what it's like to be responsible and have money, and what do I do with this money, and so on and so forth. I think it's wonderful for them. What are they doing during the summer? Can they do something part-time, things like that? So I think that's, am I going to contribute to my college fund? Is this just going to be for pizza and my Spider-Man 15 movie? I don't know, but I think to include work as part of helping to pay for it. And obviously SATs and GPA means money for merit-based. So am I studying for the SATs? Because that could mean some big money. Kids usually take the SAT. I like to have them take it 2-3 times. So maybe a school wants a 1200 on the SAT to get for a merit-based scholarship, and Michelle comes in at 12 or 1150. Well, she's 50 points short. Well, for $52 and a Saturday morning for SAT, let's take the SAT and study for it, so we can get maybe an extra $3,000 or $4,000 a year times 4. That's $12,000, $16,000. Hey, let's do that. So I think we need to start looking at putting a lot of different pieces together that add up. It's not just 1, 2, or 3, but there should be numerous pieces to help make, I'll say, college more affordable, and that's what we're trying to do with them. So part-time work, summer work, and in college, are you working? I work during college Thursday night and Saturday morning. You do what you can. You do what you need to do. Appeals. There's 2 different pieces to appeals, and it's through FAFSA. If you end up applying through FAFSA, one is to directly appeal for FAFSA, and I have a quick list. I'm not going to name them all, which will require common special circumstances. Job loss, could be a divorce, separation, death of a dependent, reimbursement for medical and dental expenses, catastrophic loss, and think of a pandemic. So those are things you could appeal for FAFSA, saying, hey, I really didn't like the outcome. The other one is a more personal one for the college, when it comes maybe narrowed down to places. Hey, I really want to go to Drexel, but geez, this is like $65,000 and you gave me X. If you could give me an extra 3-5, I think we can do something. And I think you only have one shot at that, to make that one appeal to that specific school. Say, hey, I really want to come, but it would be helpful if I can get X. And that can't hurt to ask. They can only say, like, nope, we're out of money, or like, well, let's go take a look. And maybe they compromise. Instead of 5,000, they, well, the best we can do is 2,500. Well, times 4 years, or 5 at Drexel, that's 12,500 because you asked. Can you take another look? Because we're really pushing it here at home. So appeals is good. Ask. Somebody ask. I know the students are like, I'm not calling them up. Students are afraid to call the pizza guy sometimes. So somebody's got to make that call. Saving money. This is where we're going to spend a lot of time about saving money. I don't want to, when I talk about saving money, I'm really speaking about not putting away money, but how can we maneuver logistically to save the cost of money. Graduate early. We kind of hear about that and we kind of don't. And I really want to talk about that for a little bit and emphasize, again, I give to our kids, I'm kind of hold up, I call it the big picture stuff. And I'm all about looking at the big picture. Most kids, 3.0, you don't have to be a 4.0 to graduate early. You're 3.0, 3.3, whatever it's going to be. You can graduate early if you want to. You have to do a few things. One is, if you're majoring in business, I'm thinking you can probably graduate in 3.5 or 3 years. If it's nursing, it might not be that way because maybe you need your nurse practicum for 3 years and you have to be there for 4 years. So this is where the phone call comes in. You talk to a human being. Hey, I'm thinking about graduating early in your BSN program at UD or Clemson or Ohio State. So can I graduate early? And they'll tell you that. Yes, you can, and no, you can't. So if you think about graduating early, can I do it in half a year? Well, that's half a tuition, that's half room and board. How much is that worth? Well, I just saved our family $25,000. How do I graduate early? That's the key. So there's a list of things that I tell the kids. You can CLEP out of exams. What are you doing, junior, after you finish your junior year this summer? Could you not go online or go to Delaware County Community College, Pennsylvania, or Cecil County College, or Del Tech and take Intro to Psychology? You'll probably, get a good grade, and you're talking to the registrar of the college you're thinking of going, say, hey, registrar, will you accept these 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 credits from the community college I'm going to, and you're going to get a yes or no. Because your goal is not just to get credits in there. Your goal is to graduate early and save money. If you're looking for a whole year, you're going to need 26, 28, 30 credits to finish a whole year early. Now think about this. If I'm graduating a year early, you're like, great, I just saved $50,000. Then I'm like, well, wait a minute. If you graduate early and all your friends are still in school, they're now seniors, and you did your senior year, your third year, hopefully, Lord willing, what are you doing now during that year? You're hopefully working as your electrical engineer, or you're going to be a nurse. And how much money are you going to be earning your first year as an engineer or nurse? Oh, 50, 60, 70,000. Oh, okay. So you're saving 50, but now you're really ahead 100, 110, $120,000. Oh, and then think about that. I'm earning instead of just sitting around doing nothing. No, you're earning. So who do you want to be? Do you want to be, I'm graduating on time, or I just saved $100,000? And that's a choice you need to start considering and making junior year, because you can't show up for college freshman year and say, I want to graduate early. You can't do that. You need to start in planning and strategizing. When can I do these things? Can I take dual credit? Am I going to be taking AP, and will they accept my 3 on a test, or 4 or 5? And you put all this together, registrar, I'm coming in with 5 different types of things. Will you take these all? And they will answer your questions. But you need to be planning now to save, hopefully, a good bit of money and actually start making money earlier. Who wants to do that? I don't know. That's up to you, but something to consider. The other thing you can do with all these credits, if you don't want to graduate early or you can't, is to place them throughout your 4 years. So typically, students are taking 5 courses in the fall, 5 in the spring. You graduate with 40 classes times 3 credits on average, about 120 credits. So instead of taking 5 classes, you're taking just 4, because you're substituting your intro to psych or intro to business for one of them. So you got to look at this. Who's going to get a better GPA? The kid taking 4 or the kid taking 5 classes? And the kids are like, well, duh, Mr. Ekeland, it's 4. Okay. Who's less stressed, the 5 or the 4? Well, the 4. Who's got, oh, so maybe I use those credits just to make my life easier, more enjoyable, and more rewarding, and I'm getting better grades, so I can get a job, I'm higher up this, the scale, whatever it is, for an interview or anything like that. So you can use it that way. So there's really no downside by taking, if you can and want to, take these courses. And obviously the courses from community colleges are, dirt cheap. So we're getting down to community college online. This is what we're talking about, is using these pieces and putting it to graduating early. I'm saving money. Now I'm making money on top of that. Maybe I should put that in the title, making money while I'm in college or right out of college. Loan forgiveness. Dentistry, medical, teaching, there's loan forgiveness out there. I have a friend in South Dakota, God bless him, in Gettysburg, population 1,469. There's one flashing light. You can leave your car running, your pocketbook sitting in the front seat, and not worry about it. That's Gettysburg, South Dakota. Been there a few times. So back in the day, he went to Hahnemann Hospital, no longer Hahnemann. He didn't want to pay for, he's a PA, he didn't want to pay for his physician's assistant. So he did a deal with Hahnemann, and they said, you can work in the inner city, you can work on Native American reservation or rural center. He chose a rural center, and guess where he's living? Gettysburg, South Dakota. And they paid for it all. Okay, it might not be the perfect fit for everybody, but I'm looking at options. There are options out there. And now you're seeing the bottom one, like military. Oh, boy. Well, the military is not what it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. I didn't say do it, maybe look at it. I know a young lady from my previous school. She's like, military, but they're going to pay 4 years of my private education, every penny of it. And so she was a nurse, went for nursing. She is now at Walter Reed Hospital as of 2-3 years ago. And so she's earning good money. She had no college debt. She saved $150,000, $190,000, and now she has a job as a nurse, and she can do whatever she wants at this time. These are options. I can save money. I can do one thing, I can do this, I can do that, and keep adding to it. College options. This is huge. And this is kind of hard for some kids, some families, because I want to go to this place and I want to have this on the wall saying UCLA. I always want to go live in California and I want to go to UCLA. You can still have that, but that's going to cost 60, 65 grand from Delaware. So can I still have the diploma? So maybe I go to Del Tech, or I go to Penn State, or I go to whatever, and I'm still saving a ton of money. I'm commuting for a year. And then I go to UCLA, because maybe it's hard to get in UCLA, and it's easier to go in my sophomore year. Well, maybe that fits both purposes. Maybe I can't get in my first year, and I just save how much money? $45,000. Now I still go there and spend 3 years worth there. My diploma still says UCLA. So there's options. I do 2 years here, 2 years there. So we need to be thinking it's not always 4 years here and that's it. It's like, no, you can break this down that might fit a better purpose for you. I think college options are important. And I always get back to, and again, I love you because you're one of my family. So I said, I love you, you know, honey, but I talked to my sister. She's been in HR for, I don't know, 35 years. She's hired and fired hundreds of people. Sorry to say, she's read thousands of resumes. And I always run things by her. She works for nice size, you know, companies. And she says, for the most part, this is a general statement, she doesn't care about necessarily where you went. She doesn't work for a Wall Street firm. She doesn't care where you went. UD, Clemson, Ohio State, that's nice. And for the most part, she doesn't care if you have a 3.49 or 3.91. Two things she's looking at. She's looking at, do you have any life experiences? Are you a team player? Do you have anything related to the work you're applying for? What else you got? Because there's only one entry-level position when you're 21 years old, right? And how many people are applying for that position? 50, 150, 450? What are your odds of getting that? So what she's looking for is the resume, and then she's looking for the personality within the first 1 to 2 minutes of conversation. Because she doesn't want to have somebody come in and say, hi, yes, my name is Jonathan. I'm really excited about this job. No. She's got another 300 people. She knows she's going to get somebody who's passionate, who shows it, who's articulate, and to do that, because everybody has the degree, right? Everybody has the nice grades, right? Yes. What else do you have? Oh, that's different. So we need to be thinking that way. I know I want to go here, but is that the best use of my money? Because college is a what, according to me? It's a tool. What's the best tool for the money to get to what I want to go? So those are things, those are family philosophies you have to kick around and look at your priorities. What are my priorities for college? Is it to have this, to have this? What doors is it going to open? I don't know. I tell the kids, I'm not going to hire you in 5.5 years. The college is not going to hire you. So then I have kids looking at, and I'll start it now, and we'll touch on it later with the plan. They want to be a doctor. Just had a girl yesterday spoke to. She wants to go to med school. I'm like, absolutely. So then I can show you briefly. Not you're going to really see it. There's an article from U.S. News today. This is one of 2 articles I give the kids, that close to 50% of med school students are not majoring in a biological, in a science. They're taking their 6, 7, 8, 9 required sciences courses, but they're majoring in literally in zoology, in business, in psychology, in German, almost you name it. They're looking for obviously good science structure, but looking for the MCAT. They're looking for any experiences, any relatedness. Like I pushed a wheelchair in a rehab hospital and a recommendation from Dr. Susan Smith. Oh, okay, that's great. So they're looking for something different than I would have thought, obviously 20, 30, 40 years ago. So you need to look. So I want the students to call 4, 5, 6, 58 med schools over the summer and say, hey, Mrs. Smith, I have a few questions for you. How many seats do you have? We only have 200 seats first year. How many people are applying for those seats? Well, we have 2,000 to 3,000. Oh, what's the math on that? 10%. So what are you looking for? What are the intangibles? So I need to be looking and talking and asking and thinking the best road to be taking. Is it really this major and is it this college before I start applying and looking to sinking this much money? Do I really need to have those things? Because the college is not really the med school. The college is not the career. So I want to do marketing in fashion, so I want kids to call it Maybelline, Estee Lauder, Ralph Lauren in New York City. Who are you hiring? What's going on here? And so you ask the same thing. How many entry-level positions do you have? Oh, we usually only have 2 or 3. Who you're looking for? All those kinds of things. So I'm getting back to, I don't trust the college because when's the last time the professor was in the field? Sorry, any professors. But I need to talk to who might hire me, who might take me into their class for physical therapy doctor or med school. Now, come back from med school into career and coming from high school to the college, is everything a fit? Does this match? Now I'm confident. Now I'm 100% sure that all this time, energy, and money of 3.5, 4 years and $100,000, $200,000 makes complete sense because I've spoken to the end product people and it is a complete fit. Now let's go. Because I don't like the words, I'm pretty sure, I guess so, maybe. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Resident assistant, anywhere from $3,000 to $18,000 I've seen students are getting to be resident assistants, and you can start now as a sophomore in many schools. It's an option. I can save half or almost all of my room and board if I'm going to be living out of home. What a great way. Losing money. National Center of Education statistics. 44% of 15, 16 first-time bachelor's degree recipients completed the degree 4 years, 48 months, or less after enrolling in post-secondary education. So my question is to the kids, why only 44% are finishing in 4 years? 44%. Don't trust me, talk to the National Center for Education Statistics. Number one reason, or one of the top reasons, transferring. I went from Ohio State to Clemson, and I just lost 15, 8, 20 credits because I didn't do my homework, because I didn't plan this out when I'm in high school, because I'm not thinking enough and putting enough time and energy into trying to map out a plan so I have answers, I have a backup, I have a way to do this if I need to transfer. I understand kids need to transfer for certain reasons, but why are we losing credit? And that, to me, that's the problem. It lacks a plan. So I'm leaving, other reasons I'm leaving, I'm changing my major. And I think one of the biggest things is we're not spending enough time thinking, praying, looking at the major piece. At Wilmington Christian, we start in middle school. I don't expect an 8th grader, even a 10th grader to know, I know exactly I want to be a biosystems engineer. I don't expect that, but at least they're thinking about this. How am I made? How am I wired? What are some interests? What are my passions? That's all. We didn't mention college, just we're talking about that. 10th grade, we do a whole thing on career. So we are going to take a personality test, which is not writing on the wall, but it's one tool. I'm going to ask my parents. I'm going to ask Uncle Harry, next door neighbor Bill, who's known me my whole life. I'm going to do some other pieces to put together, and I'll pick on Michelle because I've already used Michelle. So Michelle, are you a data person, a people person, a things person, or an ideas person? Because that's all the majors and the careers wrapped up in those 4 basic pie pieces. I could tell you in 5 seconds, if you ask me, I'm 17, well, I'm not data because I just got a smartphone 6 years ago. You know, things, well, yeah, but not full-time. Ideas, I think I'm kind of clever. I'm a people person. I can answer that in 2 seconds. So sometimes it's not a matter of, oh my gosh, Penn State has 300 different majors. Yeah, but I'm only wired and equipped to do maybe 20 or 30 of them. So let's get rid of all that, distraction and look at, well, what can I do? So we put a lot of things together. Now I've got 20 different things speaking to me, and they're all probably going to be the same because I can't imagine Uncle Harry's going to say, Michelle, I think you should be a neurosurgeon. Your next door neighbor says, no, I think you should be a rocket scientist. No, I think they're all going to be in this general area. So let's go with that until maybe something comes up and blocks it and turns it and goes another way. So I think that's huge for us that students are losing money. Not even half are finishing in 4 years. I saw another report that private schools, to go to a private college, I think they're at 4.6, 4.8 years, and public schools, the big universities, are like 5.5 years they're finishing. So we're losing money. How much is a year at your university? That's $50,000 extra. Well, we were only planning for 4, but most kids, obviously the vast majority of kids, are not spending 4 years. It's not a 4-year institution anymore. We're used to that, but it's not anymore. It's now become 5 to 6 year. or we're not finishing it all. New York Times reports only 50% of more than 580 schools are reported to, so 290 institutions report on-time graduation rates at or above 50% for their first-time students. It's that 50% number. That's horrible. I don't know what else to say, but that's a lot of kids. If you have a first-year class of 10,000, well, 5,000 are taking 5, 6 years, not even that. Look at the bottom. The average graduate had accumulated 138.4 credits by the time they received a bachelor's degree, when 120 is sufficient. Tack on another 20.3 for average amount of courses that students fail, repeat, withdraw from. Those credits hours jump to, I can't even say that, 158, almost 160 credits. So if you do the math, if you have annual tuition of $20,000 and you do the math at 28 credits, you're looking at, hey, we just, I hate to say it, wasted $5 grand. And 30,000, there's 38 grand, I'm sorry. And then 40, there's an extra 50 grand. So that's a lot of money, 25, 38, 50 grand, because we're not doing our homework. Oh, I'll just take an extra course or two in this looks fun, but that's costing money. Who's paying for that? Was that in the plan? Well, no, but I'm here and mom and dad are, whatever, 5 states away. I think that's where, again, the ball's being dropped in looking at, we need to stick to something and hold to and say, hey, when we hit 120, we're done. You know, we're moving on, or we're not paying for it, or whatever the, you know, the family plan is. Mom and dad are paying for it, or most of it. Honey, that's on you if you're going to take more than that, or we're doing this and you do grad school, or whatever it's going to be. But these are conversations that I really want parents and students to have. I'd love to have students sit down. Again, I'm mostly talking to juniors because they're seeing and hearing this an awful lot. But you can certainly apply to a 5-year-old going to be in 12 years, or 12-year-old going to happen in 5 years. That I want them to run the show. This is their education. That they're president of their LLC, and they're going to have a meeting twice a month, Sunday nights after dinner. They have their agenda. Mom and dad, save your questions for our meeting. I'm running the show, and we're going to do new business. And hey, these are the things I found out about these schools, the med schools, or studying for the SAT, or all these things I'm giving them from homework. I'll take questions for the later at the very end of our meeting, so everyone's on the same page. And so that's what I dearly want for the students. My college plan. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. This is the student sheet I give to the kids that go through. I need to treat this as a part-time job. You have homework 10, 12 hours a week, that's a part-time job. You're playing a sport, that's 10, 12 hours a week, that's a part-time job. You have a part-time job, that's a part-time job. I want you to spend time in this college planning process as a part-time job. Put in 1, 2, 3, 4 hours a week, but you need to start doing that at some point. You can start looking for scholarships in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, but you're probably not going to apply to them handful in junior year, but mostly after your junior year, senior, you can now start applying. Doesn't mean you can't look, but I need you to be thinking, this needs to be a job. When are you going to do this? So I want students to write a plan out and stick it on the fridge for everybody to see. It's fluid, it moves. I'm going to do these 5 things in April. I'm going to do these 6 things in May. I'm going to do these 7 things in June, and work your way through this important junior year till we get to senior year. I want them to become an expert in their field of study. So I had 2 girls, the whole fashion business, and they were seniors. I said, all right, guys, sit down. I said, I don't know hardly anything about business or marketing. I said, all right, guys, tell me the difference between marketing and, advertising and public relations. And they just stared at me. It was crickets going on. I'm like, okay. And you're going to go away next year and spend $40,000. No offense, I love you, but you can't tell me this much about marketing. So they came back and they called the Estee Lauder, the Ralph Lauren, and they're getting information. I want my kids to be able to sit in front of me and bore me to tears for 10 or 15 minutes about everything they know about marketing or biology or biosystems engineering. Now they're going to be confident. They're going to be able to speak to people and say, well, I'm pretty sure this is it, or I just know a little bit. No, If we're going to spend $100,000, $200,000, they should be able to sit down and write a 4-page paper about it. Here's the coursework. Here's the schools that have it. Here's answers of how many students get a job in the first month or two in biosystems engineering. Is it 99%, 89%, 79%? I'm going to know all these as a junior. I am confident. I know what I'm doing. And that's what I want from them, is to be confident. And that just rubs off on everybody. You know, I always joke with the kids, kind of like, you know, you're 25 years old, you've been dating, you know, whatever, Timmy or, you know, Lisa for 4 years, and they come to you as a parent and say, like, hey, I'm pretty sure I want to marry Lisa. And you're like, did you say I'm pretty sure? You're like, well, yeah, maybe. What do you mean maybe? Why are we doing this? Well, to me, it's the same thing for a 17-year-old for college. It's kind of like, sit down, can you explain to me, why are we doing this? Well, I'm pretty sure I want to major in this. I'm your dad. You need to convince me. Why should I write a check for 15 grand when you're coming in saying, I'm pretty sure? Again, that's a family philosophy, but that's my philosophy is I want some confidence here. I want you to explain to me why you're doing this. Otherwise, we don't go and we wait and you just maybe take some courses on the side to really figure this out. Colleges started, I don't believe it was around when I was there, they came up with a great tool for making money. Come in undecided. Hey, Michelle, come on in undecided. We'll help you figure it out. In how many years, though? Am I going to figure this out in 4 years and major and do it? I don't know. So it's a matter of what do we want our kids to have before they step on campus, before they even spend a penny. And that's what I'm hoping for them. And then the other thing is what I was talking about before is to position themselves better for college and their career. What am I doing now as a 16-year-old, 17, 18-year-old, even a 14-year-old? Can I volunteer and push a broom in an accountant office? It's better than I mowed yards, because on my resume I say, hey, I worked in the accounting office and I have a recommendation from the CPA at ABC Accountings R Us or whatever it's going to be. So I'm building up this formula of a resume to show them I volunteered, I have an internship, I either worked, what can you do? Even if it's 1 hour a month, it's on your resume. It's better than nothing. So work at Chick-fil-A or work someplace to make some money, but by golly, you need to be thinking, what can I put on my resume? And here's the thing, some kids, well, I'm going to change my mind, but at least you can show the employer or the college, look what I did for these 2 years when I want to become an engineer, and I decided to move in this direction, but now look what I've done during these 2 years towards this new major. Okay. You're at least showing a heart and passion towards what you want to do. And that's key, and that's very important. So the process is just kind of going down and working with the students as far as like just taking small bites and getting information, building on that confidence. And then as we're looking at colleges, what is the best tool? What is the best fit for me as I'm going through this process? And I think it can't hurt to start earlier, just putting little pieces in, and that's what we try to do in middle school. 9th grade, it's GPA, but it's for college. You only have 3 years to show colleges what you're made of, not 4, because you're applying fall of your senior year. So let's start off right. You have a bad study habit, let's get rid of it. How do we get rid of it? I'll help you get rid of it. 10th grade, let's get rid of another bad study habit. So by the time I'm a senior, I got rid of 3 or 4 bad study habits. So now I'm even a better student. You know, again, just always thinking, try to improve, try to move ahead, try to encourage. It's not negative things, it's positive. Look what you can do. But I only have a 2.83. But look at the gifts you have, the abilities you have. You know, the 4.0 don't have what you have. So let's work on this and fine tune this and look for things. Shadow people is huge. Let's not be an engineer and not actually having sat behind somebody for a half a day saying, oh my goodness, he's behind a computer for 10 hours a day. I thought he was going to be out in the field. Where'd you get that impression? No, I need to have some experience. It's all these things put together. And for this to wrap these things up, sorry, here we go. So we need a plan, who, what, where, when, and how. I need to put all these things together so I'm saving money, which is I'm looking for ways to not pay college. I'm getting money because I'm getting a scholarship or a loan or a grant or whatever it's going to be. And then I don't want to lose money. But in a sense, it is losing money if we stay longer. Let's graduate early. So look at these things, you know, how and when to study for SATs, look over options, call colleges, employers, grad schools. I know a lot of kids are frightened to do that. So maybe the parent comes up with the first phone call. And I write for the kids, write out a script. They don't know you have a script, and make these things and get information. So I have a boatload of information. Now I can make a wise decision. What is the best tool? What is the best college for Michelle? Because Michelle has all these options. She applied to 7 schools, 5 of them want her. Well, how do I make a decision? You have all this information. There's no bad college in the bunch, is there? No, there's not. Then pick what's the more Michelle school. You have all this information. You're confident, yes, this is the best place for me. But you need to write things out. I have a whiteboard in my room. We're going to use the whiteboard. Maybe I need to roll in a whiteboard in your home to do those things. So I could go on for hours. Maybe you're thinking like, yeah, this guy needs to like keep quiet because he could go on for hours. But my time is near, so we're going to kind of wrap things up, and I'll hand that over to our friend and to run us out here.
Great, Jonathan. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. You shared something with me earlier this afternoon about Can you talk about that? Like for example,
Sure.
UT Clemson. I thought that was fascinating, also.
Yes. Thanks for that. I appreciate the reminder. I just found out today. Sorry, I'm going to have to read this a little bit. I'll get my glasses. I'm from Pennsylvania, so this wouldn't. I'm above Mason-Dixon, so it didn't apply to me. Southern Regional Education Board, they have an academic common market. I'm just going to read a little bit real briefly. The academic common market is a tuition savings program for college students in the 15 Southern regional states. It's Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Maryland, Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, not North Carolina, who want to pursue degrees that are not offered by their in-state institutions. Students can enroll in out-of-state institutions that offer the degree program and pay the institutions, you getting this, in-state tuition rates. So I did a real quick buzz through, and I came up with UD versus Clemson. UD doesn't have a genetics, architecture, biosystems engineering, city and regional planning, or digital arts program. UD is $15,000. Clemson's in-state is like $15,000, $17,000. Their out-of-state is $39,000. So you do the math. That's $20,000 a year because you apply to this institution, and they're going to accept you. You just need to apply. And if you get into Clemson, or you get into LSU, you get into Georgia Tech, and you're paying in-state tuition, not out-of-state, 4 times 20 grand. I just saved $80,000 before I even got a scholarship for anything. So something you should certainly look into. I just emailed all of my high school families about 3 hours ago and saying, you need to look into this so you kind of know it's there. Sorry, New Jersey. Sorry, Pennsylvania people.
But you said Maryland, and I don't think I heard you say Delaware. Is Delaware also on that list, though?
Delaware, yeah. Delaware's, yeah, Delaware and Maryland. I'm sorry. Yes, Delaware and Maryland are there. But anything north of that, and they consider Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I think we have somebody from Vermont. Sorry, New England. It's just the southern states. I'm not sure if there's a northern one. I haven't time to look at that, but obviously there's a southern consortium here for academic common market, which is utterly fantastic. But it's a matter of them not having your major. Obviously, they're going to have business. They're going to have all the good basics. UD has 145 majors, I believe. But obviously, there's dozens out there they don't have. So
an academic common market, that's something we want to check out as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
See if we have some Q&A here. Do we have the what do we have for that next slide there? Is that going to be the...
There we go.
Oh, thanks for joining us. Okay, great. And so...
Oops, sorry.
Certainly you can reach out. Yeah, sorry, you go ahead and flip through our thanks for joining us.
Okay.
So I want to point out, there's questions. So if you have questions, please email Michelle at Covenant Wealth Strategies. And we do have a couple of questions that have come in. So if you have additional questions, please email them to Michelle at Covenant Wealth Strategies. And then, Jonathan, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and put up that, that other slide right before that, summit guidance. So I just want to point out that for those of you who have students at Wilmington Christian School, you're very fortunate because you have direct access to Jonathan Ekeland anytime you want. And certainly you can see he's a very valuable resource. I'm not going to say that Jonathan Ekeland is a tool, but if he's a tool that you want in your toolbox, we could say it that way. But for those of you not enrolled at Wilmington Christian School, first of all, I want to point out that I'm certain they'd be more than happy to hear from you about doing the school tour and possibly enrolling. Jonathan does also do some consulting. You can reach out to him directly at Summit Guidance, and there's his contact information on the screen. So, Jonathan, I want to just bring a couple of questions and also a few comments that I jotted down while you were speaking. So one question that came in is apparently from a student who might currently be in middle school or high school, but they were talking about the loan repayment situation where you had to write a check for like $100 or $400 a month or something like that. Was basically this question came in, and the question was, what's a check? So I just thought that, you know, thought I'd start off with that one. But
wow, okay. I love it. How old are we, Ward? How old are we?
I don't know, but I love the shirt that I've seen that says, I can't be overdrawn, I still have checks left. I mean, that's my kind of financial planning right there, right?
Right.
So one question that did come in, could you speak a little bit to the Delaware Seed program? So I think it's for students in the state of Delaware, and talk a little bit about how that works.
Sure. There's I guess two different ways through it, and I'll just comment on a little bit. I know of one student, senior, she just told me today, things were finalized, that she's going to be going to Del Tech for free, and she'll be taught, because she got accepted to the program, and because of family's finances, it's financial need, and she's going to have to apply for FAFSA and have to take a look at things. So she's not going to pay a penny, and then she has UD professors teaching her, which is great, and then she'll go into UD after those 2 years at greatly reduced, obviously, tuition and finances for her. So you have to be obviously in state for that, and some students are just going to Del Tech for their 2-year associate's degree, and you can still go for free. It depends certainly if you get accepted. If not, it's still minimal at a few $1,000s to pay for a whole year because the credits are very inexpensive. Thank you for the state of Delaware for that. The best thing to do to get all the details, you can go online certainly. I always like looking at things, and I like talking to like the financial aid office or the admissions office there to get everything crystal clear. So if you see something, you might want to reiterate, like, I saw this on your website, can you explain this? Or I just want to make sure that this is true. So it's out there. It's a wonderful piece. A lot of our kids have used it to get into Delaware and save, obviously, thousands of dollars. So go for it. Absolutely go for it. Look at it, get some answers to make sure it fits your family, and go from there.
Yep, I'm familiar with the program. Friends of ours, their daughter went to the SEED program for the first 2 years after graduating from high school. It's Del Tech classrooms, but it's University of Delaware professors, and it's classes that are obviously accepted at University of Delaware because it's University of Delaware program. So did the SEED program and commuted for the first 2 years, and basically started going to UD campus junior year, having 2 years of tuition-free classes and saving money living at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
When would you say it's appropriate to start discussing careers and majors with your child, grandchild, student?
Yeah. I remember talking to my dad. I remember 6th grade conversation in the car coming home from church one night. I don't know why I remember it. And he said, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I can't remember what I came up with. I remember him asking me. It hit me like, geez, Dad, I'm like 11. But again, I think it's one of those nice conversations to have. You know, you're 7, you're 8, I want to be the astronaut, the doctor, I understand that. But I think late elementary school, again, it's not pushing for something or even talking about college, but I think it's just they're discovering even at 11, 12, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. And that's going to get even more, finely tuned in the years to come. And like I said, in middle school, we do that without the whole college piece necessarily there, but just looking at yourself and kind of assessing yourself from a distance by taking, some tests or answering these questions like, oh yeah, I think this is me, or that's not me. And again, that's an important piece, is what you're not. Because I think, we hear, especially on media, like, you can be anything you want. I'm like, well, I cannot be the next country music, singer. You hear me sing, like, I can't do that. And I can't do physics, so I'm not going to be the next astronaut. So, with guidance and love and direction, I think, start in middle school. But in high school, it's got to be, okay, you're going to college, and we need to start getting serious about it. And I know in homes, and I'm 15-year-old and the parent, and, there's pushing and, distancing and all that. But that's something you need to bring in early, so it's just part of your regular conversation. And that's where we kind of push, in a sense, from school, in making sure that they have these things answered, and the parents know what's answered, so we communicate greatly with the parents. Hey, this is what we went over. Talk to your son or daughter what just happened 5 hours ago, and see what they're putting in and what they're finding out. So to connect the parent with the students, like, okay, so we're all on the same page. This is what you're thinking, and so on and so forth.
I think it's part of the launch preparation process, right? Just in terms of, and I would share a couple of things from my own experience, Jonathan. So I like the saying that every successful relationship is based on clear expectations, right? So you have a clear understanding and clear expectations.
Huge.
And so waiting until your student's high school graduation to start talking about college is probably, not, it needs to happen sooner than that. So for our 2 boys, we made it clear at the outset, and I said, I have a certain amount of money set aside, and I'll be transparent and share, I said, we've got $50,000 set aside or earmarked, or at least mentally anticipating, right? And so that's basically in-state Delaware. That's in-state Delaware tuition, $12,000 a year, $6,000 a semester. And so that's what we're going to contribute. And so you guys are going to need to figure it out. I'm not going to give it all to you up front in year 1, and then you go blow it, and then you come and move back in because you don't know what you want to be and you ran out of money, kind of thing. Yeah. And so Chip, who he says to me, he says, well, and I told him, I said, $6,000 a semester, and the first semester that you bring home a less than a 3.0, the next semester it's $3,000. I'm cutting it in half. And the second semester you bring home less than a 3.0, we're done, right? You have to figure it out. I'm not investing in something that's not going to, pay a return. So Chip says to me, well, Dad, all you're doing is telling me what you're going to take away if I don't, perform, but you're not giving me any upside. And of course, I'm laughing because I'm thinking, I think $12,000 a year is upside here, right? But so I said, well, Mom and I'll talk about it and pray about it. So we did, and we came back to him. We said, any semester you get a 3.5 or higher, next semester we're in for $9,000. And we felt that was a stretch, but achievable for him. And wouldn't you know it, if out of his 8 semesters, he did north of a 3.5, right? And then the first semester he lived at home. He wasn't very excited about that, but his summer job had fallen through and he didn't have the resources. But all of his buddies were at our house all the time anyway, especially around 5:30 in the afternoon, because it also meant food, right? And quite frankly, we would have made out cheaper if he had lived on campus by the time we got done paying for all the food for his friends. But after his freshman fall semester, all of his buddies are like, hey, we're getting apartments, we want you to room with us, whatever. And he made the decision after his fall semester to live at home because he didn't want to be dealing with their dirty laundry and the dishes in the sink and everything else. And he was saving money living at home, and he started, figuring it out. So when he graduated, Debbie and I had to write him a 5-figure check from this money, this concept, right? And so then Dan says, I'll take that deal. And he winds up going and getting a full scholarship for 4 years. And he had to keep a 3.5 to keep his scholarship. So, when he got married shortly after school and bought a house, and a large part of that college fund that we had set aside for him was used as down payment on the house kind of thing. So I think it's important to communicate early and often.
Yeah.
It's important to have, manage expectations and start talking about these things early. And I love your idea also about through whether it's CLEP or whether it's through dual enrollment or community college, to be able to go into your freshman year at college or university already a semester or a whole year in advance, because to your point, you're saving whatever. If it's, $25,000 a year, you just save 25,000. It's 50,000 bucks a year, just save 50,000. And then to your point, you can either work through school, you can focus on your classes, you can have less stress, or you can be done in 3 years. And when you graduate in 3 years and you start working, making 50,000 bucks a year, not only did you save 50,000 on college, but you start making 50 grand a year before all your friends are out of school, and you're just so far ahead, so far ahead. So I think there's a misperception, maybe a misunderstanding, maybe just a false belief out there that you cannot get through school without student loans. And I would tell you, back in the Stone Age when you and I went to school, I worked 20 hours a week while maintaining a double concentration in finance and marketing, and I got through with no debt. And both of my kids got through with no debt, and both of my daughters-in-law got through with no debt. So it can definitely be done, and I appreciate you bringing these things to light. So question comes up, is it actually better to put away and save money for college through a 529, or not to save for college and then fill out the FAFSA form so the colleges see that you have a bigger need? So what are your thoughts on that, John?
That's a good word question almost, or your accountant, because it is going to come down to what they see. I mean, the money's going to go somewhere unless you're going to spend it. I'm just thinking logically, either I put it in this account or I'm going to put it in an IRA, so they're going to see that money anyway, I think. I'm just taking a good guess. I'm not the financial person. So you might as well put it in there, because they're going to see it, like I said, unless you're going to spend it, and they're going to see it someplace. So at least put it in there so everybody knows this is what we're doing. And once you don't have to use it for it, if all of a sudden I have scholarship, I'm graduating early, it's like, well, we have extra money for, X, Y, and Z, and that's your money, to be used. You might have certainly something else or different, Ward, on that, but.
Yeah, I think my perspective on that would be, a lot of the financial aid that the colleges and universities are going to try to give you is loan.
Yeah.
And so to the extent that you're trying to get financial aid that's need-based, I would, based on our experience, 32 years as a financial advisor, I would advise against trying to make yourself look poor so that you can get need-based financial aid. I think there's a lot of stuff out there that's not need-based, whether it's Rotary or that sort of thing. Could be merit-based, could be merit-based on your academics, your grades, could be merit-based based on your community involvement or volunteer activities. There are techniques out there for trying to make yourself look broke. For example, you can pay extra money towards your mortgage because the equity in your home is generally not considered an asset, a spendable asset for purposes of financial aid. But once you prepay your mortgage, then how do you get that money out of there? And if you wind up not getting the financial aid, now you're stuck, right? And to be clear, it's not dollar for dollar when you're filling out the FAFSA form. It's not dollar for dollar in terms of assets. They don't look at it and say, oh, you have this much asset, you have to spend all of that for school. There's an EFC, expected family contribution, where there's a portion of countable assets that go towards that. But again, I mean, you could do a seed program at the University of Delaware in terms of in-state here at Delaware and not pay anything for the first 2 years if there's, really a financial need-based situation.
Right. And real quick on, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll say, and you need to be careful about the money, even with like scholarships. You get a great scholarship from IBM, for for $10,000. And the college might be looking at that saying that might actually damage what you might be getting on that side. It's not like, hey, I got 10,000, I got all this from the college. They might take some away because they're looking at that as income. So you need to be asking and be very thoughtful about all these things before you assume I have all this money. Well, some things, you know, the seesaw goes up and down maybe. And so it comes up with this scholarship that's going to come down over here. So always, again, just talk to somebody, find out what's going on. If this happens, you know, what would this look like? And they're very, obviously very helpful. But talk to the registrar, talk to the financial aid people. If there's any question whatsoever about anything, and get a true answer, and then move ahead with that information.
I love your comment, and I'm just going to play it out a little bit here. So I'm going to pretend a story that you go to your spouse, or your spouse comes to you. And so I go to my spouse, Debbie, and I say, hey, I've got this idea, and it's only about $30,000 or $50,000, and it's only about $30,000 or $50,000 a year for maybe 5 or 5.5 or 6 years. But it's this really great idea. I haven't made any phone calls. I haven't, you know, gone and done any market surveys or anything else. But I think it's a really, really great idea, and I think that we should definitely do this, right? And so, like, if your spouse came to you with that, you think they're nuts, right? This would be like marriage counseling or something, right?
Yeah.
But yet, this is the conversation that we have with our kids in terms of, they're like, okay, well, I graduated from high school, so I want to go to Drexel, $65,000 or $70,000 a year for 5 years, but I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, kind of thing. So, yeah, the time to start the conversation is early. I love how you have the students making phone calls to colleges, making phone calls to potential employers. I remember Chip and I went up. He was in college, and we took the train up to New York City for a weekend because he's in graphic arts and graphic design, and he was thinking he wanted to work up in New York City for an ad agency or something like that. And so we had a man's weekend, or maybe an adult weekend, if you want to call it that. And I let him see how much it was to buy the train tickets up and back, and let him see how much it was for the hotel, and let him see how much it was we spent for food, and what does it mean to be an adult, right?
Right.
And then we had a couple of appointments set up, and he went in and kind of did interviews and talked to some of the potential employers and that sort of thing. And it was a great experience. And I think, to your point, one of the things he learned from that experience was that he didn't want to work in New York City, right?
There you go.
It's just as important when you're doing this research to find out the things that you don't like as it is to find out the things that you do like.
One quick little thing, I think, no offense, dads, moms will appreciate it. When you make that phone call to the college, the med school, the employer, all right, you had your 5 questions. Thank you, Mrs. Smith, for your time. The next day, I'm holding up a thank you card. So the 17-year-old boy, young man or young woman, writes a 2-3 sentence. Thank you, Mrs. Smith, for your time yesterday on the phone. I greatly appreciate it. You know, with regards, you know, Ward. And you set up, how many 17-year-olds are writing thank you cards to Mrs. Smith in New York City? Anybody? None. What are you going to do next year when you get accepted to Ohio State? Hey, Mrs. Smith, it's Ward here. I just got into Ohio State. I'm majoring in marketing, blah, blah. Thank you so much again. Have a wonderful year, blah, blah, blah. You now have a friend at that med school, at that future employer. So when she's looking at hundreds of, oh, Ward, I remember he has that. Yes, exactly. We need to be thinking that way, because everyone knows that sometimes it's who you know. And so we're building relationships on top of this with these phone calls. So call up 20, 30 people. What are you doing? That phone call, I asked the kids, how long is this phone call going to take? 8 minutes? Yeah, 8 minutes. You can make 5, 6, 7 of these in an hour. What are you doing this summer? Making a lot of phone calls? Yes, you're making a lot of phone calls. And then you're writing a lot of thank you notes. And if your mom doesn't buy the thank you notes, or she doesn't want to pay for the stamps, you come see me and I'll buy the notes for you. And I have stamps right here. We'll put it on and we'll get it out in the mail. Things like that are very important. We need to be thinking of that.
You want to be memorable in a good sense. Chip did a couple of his spring year of his senior year of college or whatever. He did a couple of internships, and he literally brought with him on his first day to each internship a piled plate of homemade chocolate chip cookies he had made the night before. And he was known as the chocolate chip kid, who, like the intern with the chocolate chip cookies kind of.
Hey,
so
it worked.
He kind of opened the door that way.
Yeah.
Well,
be the chocolate chip kid, be the sticky note. Yep.
I want to thank you so much for your time, and it's obvious we could spend a lot more time on this, but thank you for your time and presentation here for our Stone Barn Speaker Series, and love to do this again. We'll see if we can do this again at some point in time, but just a fabulous presentation. So our entire team at Covenant Wealth Strategies is here to assist you as well. And Jonathan, thanks for investing your time with us and for sharing your wealth of knowledge and wisdom with us. With that, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We're a little past top of the hour. Thanks again.
Thanks. Bye-bye.